Welcome to Fantasy Sports Daily, powered by FantasyGuru.com. Monday through Friday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 a.m. Pacific. Ray Flowers breaks it all down for you from a fantasy sports perspective. Morning, everyone. Ray Flowers of FantasyGuru.com. Hope you're doing well here on this Tuesday, the 15th. The 18th of February. I almost got through the first two sentences without screwing up. But hey, as we've talked about a lot, I'm better in the midday to evening, and it's 9 in the morning on the West Coast time. Beautiful day outside here on the West Coast. Hope it's okay where you're at. It's about 50 degrees. Sun's out. We've got a break between the storms. Hope wherever you are, you're not freezing cold and driving rain and snow and all that kind of good stuff. Unless, of course, that's what you're doing because you're skiing or something like that. Then I hope everything is going well. Again, I'm Ray Flowers of FantasyGuru.com. You can find me here on the show Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. Justin Fensterman on Wednesdays, meaning Justin will be here tomorrow. The show, Fantasy Sports Daily, is a free show powered by FantasyGuru.com. Monday through Friday at 12 o'clock Eastern Time. We go about an hour. You can watch us live on YouTube, on Facebook, on Instagram. You can catch us on demand at any of those three places. You can always catch us at FantasyGuru.com. Click that Elite Plus tab at the top of the page. You can type Fantasy Sports Daily into your podcast network, get us there. If you're leaving a comment or a question, which you can do on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter X, leave those questions, comments live, and we address them throughout the show. That's one of the neat features of what we got going on here. I know all of you talk to one another in the chat room, which is great. And you have the opportunity to interact with myself and a guest if we have one. And today we do have one. So let's get to what the show program is today. We're going to talk a lot of baseball here to start. Then we'll talk some football. Again, I haven't heard anyone say I hate football, so we're going to keep doing the football talk. If people hate talking football on the show, let me know. At the Ray Flowers on social media, in the Discord room over at FantasyGuru.com. Obviously here on the show, in the chat room. You can always click the subscribe tab in the top right corner to sign up for any of the products we've got going. Football, baseball, the MVP plan. It has everything basically but football and baseball. I think we're still having the 60% off sale if you contact customer support at FantasyGuru.com. Support at FantasyGuru.com. You can give it a shot at least. Who knows? Bregman, Devers, what is going on with the Red Sox? We will talk about it in a second. I'm tired of talking Alex Bregman. You're probably tired of hearing about Alex Bregman, but we got to talk about it some more because there's some weird things going on with the Red Sox. Frelick is gaining weight. Elly de la Cruz is changing his swing. Vladimir Guerrero says, I'm not signing a contract with the Blue Jays. That dream apparently is dying. Geraldo Perdomo. Whoa. Did you see he got a $45 million contract with option years? We'll talk about that. Some veterans signing, some injuries on the hill, et cetera, et cetera. We'll visit with Armando Marsal in about 25 or 30 minutes. He always comes on Tuesdays with us here. We'll talk T. Higgins and Chris Godwin, some big-name wide receivers. Got some updates there. At the quarterback position, Minshew, Cousins, Stafford, Cam Ward. Cam Ward's not going to throw, it sounds like, and that kind of is what a lot of these guys do. We'll talk to Armando about that and why players, I know why players don't do it. They don't want to screw up, but kind of odd, right? Anyway, we'll talk about that a little bit more. So talk about the backfield. What are the Dolphins doing? Ashton, Jeanty, and even a Mike Williams comment there. What the hell? Let's get crazy and talk Mike Williams, who I've always liked. Unfortunately, it's difficult to get him to stay on the field on a consistent basis. So there we go with that. Let's see here. Evan G says, glad to hear you talking baseball. I'm back to daily listening. Welcome back, Evan. Appreciate you. We've been talking baseball here for weeks now on a daily basis. Looking forward to doing that, continuing as we did last year here on the show. I can't promise because who the hell knows, but I can promise. We're going to talk baseball all the way through the regular season. I know a lot of places I've worked at, places I still work at, they don't cover baseball year-round. We do that here on the show. And, we do that as a product over at FantasyGuru.com. Again, click the subscribe tab in the top right corner. Get the seasonal baseball product, which is rocking and rolling. We're basically posting an article every day. This is a big week, too. The draft book drops later this week. I think I'm going to be able to get the breakout pitcher of the year article later this week as well. So that it's a big week to get signed up over at FG. Click that subscribe tab in the top right corner. You can also sign up for the baseball DFS package or the baseball wagering package. You can get 2 of the 3 packages. You can get all 3 of the packages. Go all in. You can go all in at the entire website and get everything for every sport. Again, you can get the MVP package, which is basically everything but baseball and football. So that's NASCAR, PGA, MMA, horse racing, basketball, hockey, all the sports, DFS wagering, all that in the MVP plan. So click that subscribe tab in the top right corner. Welcome back, Evan. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the situation with the Red Sox. So we've been talking about this for days now. And so we were talking about this yesterday, and we all heard all along that Alex Bregman was going to play second base, and then we heard, well, we don't know. Yesterday we don't know where Alex Bregman was going to play for sure. And then we got the Rafael Devers side of this scenario. Now remember this: Rafael Devers is not a good defensive third baseman. Alex Bregman is a good defensive third baseman. From a team perspective, it makes a lot more sense. In fact, it's way better for the team to have Bregman playing defensive third and have Devers not playing defensive third. Problem with that is that A, Rafael Devers has been a Red Sox his entire career and has been pretty good. B, he got a $313 million contract, which you don't generally want to mess around with the guy you're paying $313 million to. And then C, check this out. Did you see the quotes from Devers yesterday? Here's what he said when they said, hey, would you be okay, moving to DH since we just signed Alex Bregman? And he said, quote, told them no, unquote. Quote, I'm a third baseman, unquote. So Rafael Devers wants to play third base. Now, we've talked about the potential moving Devers to first. Would they trade Tristan Casas? The defensive play of Devers, again, is an issue. It's fair to say that. But the Red Sox, they gave this guy $300 million. And he's 28 years old. He's not 34, right? So then we get this. He signed that contract with the chief baseball operation, Char Bloom, who's no longer with the team. So Alex Cora, the manager, was asked, hey, man, we're hearing that Devers has said that he was told he'd play third base. When he signed this contract, that was part of the deal. He said, I want to play third base. They said, okay, we're going to let you play third base. Here's $300 million. Alex Cora, the manager, said, there are different, this is a quote, different people here. There's a different leader here, unquote. So apparently the Red Sox are willing to blow up the clubhouse to sign Alex Bregman. Like, Alex Bregman's a really good player, but is that really worth it? This is a very weird scenario. It seems like their franchise player, Rafael Devers, doesn't want to leave third base, even if it's good for the good of the team. And that's another issue. Players are proud and all that, but he's got to be on. You hope he'd be honest with himself. I'm honest with all of you. You ask me a question I don't have the answer to. I say, well, I'm not sure. Let me check. People ask me a question in the Discord room at fantasyguru.com. I say, well, you want to ask Armando or Marsal or Tyler Beaker? That's a better question that they can answer. I'm very open with who I am and who I'm not. Athletes are a little different sometimes. You would hope that Devers would look at the metrics and talk to his coaching staff and his teammates, and if it was the best for the team, he would do it. Apparently, that's not what he wants to do. And again, if the ownership told him he was going to play third base, and here we are 2 years later, now the ownership saying you're not going to play third base, I understand his frustration, right? The ownership should have never said that if they weren't going to do it. For the manager to then say, we've got, we got different guys in the ownership now, different guys in the front office now, like, woo. So I don't know how this is going to play out. Chemistry is important. The X's and O's, hitting a slider, hitting a curveball, where you stand defensively, your throw, all that stuff matters. But what is going on in the clubhouse matters a lot. Teams have been ruined by clubhouse chemistry going in the toilet. Teams have been able to surge because of clubhouse chemistry. Does Devers now hate Alex Bregman, even though he doesn't know Alex Bregman and Bregman's never done it? I don't know. Does this mean that the Red Sox have got to make a move? They can't trade Rafael Devers, right? They're not going to trade Alex Bregman. So, they could trade Tristan Casas, but then you're asking Devers to move to first base. I don't know what's going on here. We'll continue to watch this. This is a very weird scenario that, in essence, the Red Sox went out and signed a guy who's a good baseball player to improve their team, but it doesn't sound like they worked with the players that were already on their roster to make sure this was going to be a smooth transition. It's very strange. Angelo says, it's a team sport. Employee do what's best for the team. I would tend to agree with you, Angelo. And I've said this for years. But I will also point out that it doesn't always happen that way. It just doesn't happen. And, when you're rich and powerful and important, when you're on TV and, autographs, all that. I think it's tough for some of these guys to maintain their perspective. I work from home. I'm literally in a sweatshirt and slippers right now. Very easy for me to keep things in perspective, right? Okay. I'm not making $32 million a year, and I'm, going out to clubs and bars and restaurants, and people are screaming at me and throwing their bras at me. I'm just dreaming there. Asking for my autograph, wanting to hang out with me. It's a different world. I would hope that players would be objective and, it's going to help the team, but that is clearly not the case for a lot of these players. John, by the way, says, I love the ABA write-up. Thank you, John. We talked about it briefly here on the show. ABA is better than WHIP. ABA should replace WHIP. I've said it for about 15, actually almost, I looked it up. I think it was 2006, 2008. When was it? Almost 20 years. So check out the article on average base allowed over at fantasyguru.com. Sal Frelick gained 25 pounds of muscle. I usually get nervous about this when it's good because he fell under 170 pounds at the end of last season, did Sal Frelick. It's the longest season he's ever played. He wore down, he lost weight. Adding weight, even if it comes off during the season, I totally get that, and I'm for it, right? It's not he didn't eat ding-dongs and ho-hos. Okay. But I do worry, as everyone I think should, 25 pounds is a lot. I mean, when you weigh 175 pounds, gaining 25 pounds is a lot. It's 15% of your body weight or whatever it is. It throws you off balance-wise. And when your balance is off to any degree, whether you're dealing with a cold or an illness or whatever, if your balance is off at all in sports, you're screwed, right? So I always worry a little bit about that factor. But I think in general, it's a good thing for Sal Frelick to gain the weight. He wants to play on a consistent basis. Maybe the weight will help the batted ball data, which was horrendous last year. Frelick has showed up to the big leagues and just simply put, not been the guy that I or many people expected him to be. He's just been a guy. And maybe that's all he ends up being. And if you're a guy and you play in the big leagues for a decade, that's a pretty good career, if we're being honest. But I think there's more to tap here. Maybe he'll get a little extra oomph. Maybe he'll drive the baseball a little bit better. And maybe it'll lead to a little bit more success for Sal in 2025. Elly de la Cruz kind of had success last year. He almost went 30-70. So, that's pretty good. And he's one of the more exciting players in all of baseball. He's a dynamic fantasy option. And he has one huge flaw in his game, and that is massive strikeouts. Now, he's 6'6", so he's got a big strike zone. And, it's hard to look at last season and be disappointed by what he did because it was a magnificent season. But he realized, as good players do, that I can get better. And so what he did, this again is a little tricky. This can work for people. This cannot work for people. Elly de la Cruz tweaked his swing. Well, more than tweaking his swing, he tweaked his stance. Now, players are always tinkering. Cal Ripken was famous. He had like a different batting stance every year. I always loved the violin one where he was doing that. So players do this, right? And spring training, off-season and spring training is the time to try it. The problem is, as a former player, I know this, when you make a change, it's hard to stick with the change if you've been doing something else for a long time, right? It's muscle memory. You've been taking this swing for 10 years. Now we're going to switch things. That's tough to do, right? Whether we're trying to generate loft or trying to go in the other direction, hit the ball on the ground more, trying to use the opposite field. Those changes are difficult. And sometimes you pick up on it quickly and you're able to maintain it. Other times you don't, and you can't. So it's, he almost went 30-70. Let's not get crazy here. And the team is basically saying, we're not trying to reinvent the wheel with Elly de la Cruz here. He's standing a little bit taller at the plate, and he's opened up his stance a little bit. Okay, so it's nothing dramatic. That's good, right? You see players add or remove leg kicks. You see hand positions change. You see they're open. So, they're trying to get him in a better rhythm is basically what they're trying to do. So they're starting with a different setup again, standing a little taller, a little more open. Here's the quote from their hitting coach. The biggest thing we're going to focus on with Elly is keeping him aggressive, but being more in control with forward movement. Moving through the middle of his body helps with this adjustability. It helps with his decision making. So it sounds like when you read, being more in control of his forward movement, they probably felt like he was leaking out over his front foot, right? Which was causing him to maybe drop his shoulder, drag the barrel through the zone, obviously throw off his timing. So by having him stand up a little more upright and open, they're hoping that he can glide to the baseball a little bit better and maintain control. Makes a lot of sense. So we'll see what this is more of just an FYI thing for you all here. This change possibly, theoretically, can help him see the ball better, theoretically. Maybe he cuts down his strikeout rate. If he gets the strikeout rate under 30%, look out. He hasn't been able to this point, and I'm not uber confident that this change will allow him to do that, but there's the potential for it, and that's always a good thing. Vladimir Guerrero said that, look, we have a date, and we were talking about this yesterday with Bo Bichette. I want to sign a long-term extension with the Blue Jays. If we don't have a long-term extension in place by then, I'm out. Well, he didn't say that exactly. But what he basically said is, I have a date. Let's extend the conversation at this point. Let's try to sign a long-term contract. If we don't sign that contract, I'm not talking to you in the regular season. We're not signing a contract at the All-Star break or anything like that. I'm going to free agency. And that's what's happening with the Blue Jays. So now we have a scenario where Vladimir Guerrero basically has put the Blue Jays on notice that he's no longer negotiating, that he's fully able, willing, and capable of hitting free agency this offseason coming up. And that means that we got a lot going on here. We've got Vlad, who's now on a contract drive. We have Vlad, uncertainty about where he's going to play next year. We have the potential that the Blue Jays trade him in season this year to try to get something for him if they don't feel like they can sign. And we have no idea. Maybe they were $30 million apart. Maybe they were $150 million apart. We have no idea what the negotiations were. So there's potential that Vlad now gets traded in season. There's the potential that while he's making this contract push, it could be a negative. Maybe he presses. He gets off to a slow start. Maybe he pushes and presses and hits 272 this year. So this makes things a little more complicated with Vladimir Guerrero. I tend to think he's the same guy, and he's just a really good offensive player, right? I know some people will say the contract drive helps. Some will say it hurts. Some will say the uncertainty hurts. Some will say it helps. I mean, we can play the game of psychiatrists all the time, but no one knows the answer with Vlad. Bottom line is he's likely, according to him, unlikely to sign a contract with the Blue Jays at this point. He's likely to reach free agency, and then we'll see. And if he reaches free agency, it doesn't seem likely that he'd return to the Blue Jays. It's always possible. Doesn't seem likely. So the Blue Jays got Vlad now, who's kind of floating around. They've got Bo Bichette, who's kind of floating around. This is a big, big season for the Blue Jays, trying to decide what their future is going to look like. Because these young players that they wanted to build around for 15 years, maybe that building around is only 6 or 7 years. As John G said, Jeff only paying you $31 million a year. No, Jeff, that is inaccurate. It's $3.1 million a year. So let's, decimal points, they matter. Commas matter, all that. I'll take $31 million. $3.1 million is pretty good, though, too. Speaking of money, Jeff Passan is talking about a deal that the Diamondbacks signed. Now, the Diamondbacks have Jordan Lawler. Jordan Lawler has been thought of as the shortstop of the future for the Diamondbacks for multiple years. Last year was a disaster. And I don't use that term. Last year, look up the definition of disaster for a baseball player. That was Jordan Lawler last year. Hurt. Didn't do anything. Jordan Lawler, widely regarded as one of the 10 to 20 best prospects in baseball. Like, he's got all the skills, all the tools to be a superstar in the Major League Baseball. But last year was a mess. So it makes all the sense in the world for the Diamondbacks to give themselves some cover, because sometimes, players, they stall out and they never get the engine going again. I mean, that's right. Everyone's still expecting Lawler to be an all-star at the big league level. And when I say all-star, I mean like 30-30 potential, like an all-star, fantasy superstar is potential with Jordan Lawler. But they got to be smart and keep things going at the major league level until and if that happens. So Geraldo Perdomo, who's a very good baseball player who made an all-star game, very good baseball player, very competent offensive player, I guess, a good defensive player, very good defensive player actually. So signing him to an extension makes sense. We'll keep him around. Jordan Lawler will show up. He'll take over the shortstop duties. We'll play Perdomo at shortstop a little. We'll play him at second a little bit. Maybe we'll get him at third. Okay. They gave Perdomo a 4-year, $45 million deal. And not just that, there's a club option for $15 million. This could become 5 years and $60 million. Now, that works when you're the Braves and you're signing Ozzie Albies. This is really weird. Perdomo is not likely to become more offensively. This is kind of who he is offensively. There is value to being a good defensive player, absolutely. But this is This is kind of eye-opening. And it's not a massive contract, but $45 million guaranteed to Perdomo with the potential to make 60 over 5 years. That's a big contract. That's not the level of money you pay if you're the Diamondbacks to a bench player. That's Dodger stuff for a bench player, right? So does this mean that the Diamondbacks have lost faith in Jordan Lawler? Does this mean they're going to trade Jordan Lawler? Ooh, this is I woke up and saw this morning. I didn't see it last night. And I was like, whoa. Like, this is, whoa. So keep that in mind if you're a Jordan Lawler fan, as I am. That's a little weird. Speaking of young Jordan Lawler, who's looking to establish himself at the major league level, let's go to the other end of the spectrum and talk old and talk about Yuli Gurriel. The Padres just keep signing old players, right? They lost Jurickson Profar, so they signed Yuli Gurriel yesterday. They signed Gavin Sheets. They signed Connor Joe. They signed Jason Hayward. Like, okay. Like, they've got their superstars and Machado and Merrill and Tatis. They're just signing veterans, and Yuli Gurriel can still hit. He's only going to make $1.25 million if he makes the majors, so it's not a big contract. He is 40 years old. He played around 20 games last year for the Chiefs. You know, we've got a scenario where Jake Cronenworth is going to play second and Luis Ariz is going to play first. Cronenworth can play first base if they need him to. Obviously, Yuli Gurriel can play second, so Gurriel gets signed. He makes this team. You know, he DHs once a week. He plays first base once every 2 weeks. He gets 226 at bats. You know, something like that could happen this year. You never know how things go and all of that as well. They really don't have a DH. You know, we're going to see Ornelas, Rosario, maybe Gurriel gets some DH worksheets. Like, so there is a path to maybe 350 or 400 plate appearances if everything goes right with Yuli Gurriel, but that, to me, I just can't. If that happens, I think it's bad for the Padres, right? So this is more of this is an NL-only signing for the fantasy game. It's an interesting signing because, you know, he's a one-time high-level offensive player. He gives a good at bat. You know, he's resigned when he's 40 years old. He can pinch hit. He can be that guy off the bench. You know, so good signing by the Padres, and didn't invest any money and all that. Basically, just it allows their young players a little bit more time because Gurriel should be proficient, right? Again, not really a fantasy thing, more of just a construction scenario for the Padres. Matt Shaw, we talked about him. He's likely to be the starter on opening day at third base for the Cubs. He's had the oblique issue. You know, they were still reportedly the Cubs in on the Alex Bregman situation that didn't come to fruition. He obviously signed with the Red Sox, as we talked about. So the Cubs looking for a little veteran depth just in case Shaw's not ready or maybe Shaw struggles. And they are signing, most likely. I don't think it's officially official, but they're signing Justin Turner. Makes sense. Justin Turner is still a very effective offensive player. He's a better offensive player than Yuli Gurriel. He can play first base. He can play third base. He can obviously play some DH if they want him to. He's 40, so you don't really want him playing third base. So it'd be tough to say that Matt Shaw is hurt and he's hitting 158. Let's make Justin Turner our everyday third baseman. You don't want to do that, but he can play a little bit here and there on the corners and DH a little bit. Wrigley's a good place to hit. So there it is. So if they sign Justin Turner, it seems likely. You know, I think that it's more of a condemnation on Matt Mervis, who I guess is just never going to be a thing. Is Matt Mervis, did he get traded? As I say that, I want to say, is he on the Mariners now? Let me look this up. I say that and I think, yeah, he's on the Mariners. All right, excuse me, the Marlins now. He's on the Marlins. Never mind what I said about Matt Mervis. This is going to be a boring fantasy option signing. Turner would be the guy you'd pick up in week 6 because he's, you know, hit 350 the last 2 weeks, that kind of thing. You know how it goes, Justin Turner. But it looks like he's going to the Cubs. Youngster, and I saw this in Discord the other day. Someone said Emmanuel Rodriguez is already hurt. There's a lot of guys that are already hurt, and it's unfortunate that that's what we got to deal with in spring training. Games haven't even started yet. We already got guys hurt. Emmanuel Rodriguez, the young prospect, got an ankle sprain. He's going to miss a couple of weeks. You know, he's with the Twins. He's one of the best prospects in baseball. Starting out the season injured, you know, not ideal. We were very likely to see him at some point this season. Starting out injured might mean late in the year kind of thing, right? It really, kind of removes any potential first half involvement. Now you never know. Buxton gets hurt, Bader gets hurt, Rodriguez is hitting 380 in the minors, But I think he's more of a second half, late in the year kind of option. I just wanted to mention that for those of you that are in Dynasty Keeper Leagues. Rodriguez is written about in the scouting report over at fantasyguru.com for the rookies. And he's also in the top 50 rookies. Where did I have him? I don't normally do this. Let's pull it up. Don't normally. Sure, we're going to talk to Armando Marsal in a couple of minutes, talk some football. Let's pull this up here. Rookies, player profiles. Here we go. Top 50 rookies for 2025. Top 50 rookies for 2025. Let's see what we got him. Currently, I'm at 35 out of 50. Might be a little low, but again, I'm only looking at 2025. If I was looking at, next 5 years, dynasty scenario, totally different. That list will probably change a little bit as we get through spring here as well. But right now, inside the top 40, I think you can make an argument that, if he gets called up, he's one of those guys everyone's running to the waiver wire for, right? It's just about when we're going to see him this year. Frankie Montas has been diagnosed with a lat strain, and they're calling it a high-grade lat strain, which is not good. He will not throw for 6 to 8 weeks. Then he'll have to ramp things back up. He's going to miss all of spring training as a result. Probably not going to be on the mound till June. Crushing blow for the Mets and for Montas. Hopefully you haven't had a draft yet and taken him. Griffin Canning, McGill, these guys are in the mix. We'll see how it plays out for that spot in the rotation, but Montas is likely to be out till June. Jose Quintana, someone asked him, I guess, hey, Jose, have they talked to you since this Frankie Montas news? Quintana said that he's not been contacted by the Mets, still waiting for a contract. Was very effective last year. It's been very effective the last few years, actually, as Quintana. Someone will sign him, and he will be that, he'll get that 1 or 2 year deal, probably 1 year, $5 million, something low, to be somebody that fills in. Rhett Lauder, who had the elbow issue, resumed throwing yesterday, so this is good news. Last week, the elbow was sore. They said it wasn't a big deal and all that. The fact he's back throwing now, sigh of relief with Rhett Lauder, the youngster with the Reds. And then finally, Corey Seager, who's had the abdomen stuff and, sports hernia surgery back in September after the year ended last year because of his hip. It's kind of all related, but he's feeling good. He's been a full participant, and he's rocking and rolling and looking forward to another 30 home run season, even though he doesn't always play 150 games. He is a very good offensive player. We all know that, and we should be expecting to see him start the season on time for the Rangers, which is great news in 2025. All right, so there is the review of baseball. I'm not sure that baseball talk is over on the show today, though, to be honest, because our man Armando Marsal joins every Tuesday. I don't know this for certain, we have talked about this, but he may have a pack of baseball cards to open up. So let's bring in Armando Marsal, who we're going to talk football with, and we'll ask him at the start, Armando, do you indeed have a pack of baseball cards today?
I do, and it's going to be a fun one, Ray. We're going to a 1990 Upper Deck pack. That's what we're going to be opening here today.
1990.
Yeah.
Okay. Where'd you find that one?
So we buy cards for the kids for the baseball team, and then on Amazon we found a bundle box, and it comes with a bunch of old school like packs and stuff like that. So I kind of mix and match like the old school ones with the new school ones. Still, some of those packs that have gum in it are come in there. So pretty cool. So yeah, I decided to go up, but let's get one of the older packs here. Let's have some fun.
Yeah, and remember, don't eat the gum, Armando. Don't do it.
No, I do know. I told my kids I do not eat the gum.
Don't eat the gum.
That's a pretty old gum right there. I also found out what my fantasy baseball league draft is. We got March 13th is penciled in.
Okay.
So I got to start doing my homework. Luckily, I got the MLB draft guy there at fantasyguru.com.
Yeah, Armando gets it for free. You all can get it if you go to fantasyguru.com and click the subscribe tab in the top right corner. You got almost 4 weeks, Armando. You're good. You have plenty of time to do some digging here. Thanks for joining us. Armando joins us every Tuesday here on the show at about 12:30 Eastern Standard Time. He also joins Justin Fentzman on Wednesdays. They talk a lot of hoops over there. We normally talk football when he's visiting with me. And there's a lot of news with football. I don't know how actionable a lot of this is, but there's things going on, so let's talk about it. T. Higgins has been a really fascinating player. We've talked about him, you and I. The fact is that T. Higgins wants to get paid. His quarterback says, I want to keep him here. I'll even redo my contract to make it work. Oh, yeah. Now we're hearing reports that they might franchise tag T. Higgins. So, and then the idea being that we're not just going to franchise him and piss him off because it's a one-year deal. We're going to try to work a deal out. Problem being that Jamar Chase is due to make $700 trillion on the other side. So is this going to work out?
I hope so, right? I hope so. I think they're going to do their best. I think that's why they're going to tag him. We talked about this last week, right? That this was the likelihood whether he gets tagged, and then whether they trade him or whether they try to work a deal, that we would not know. I'm hopeful that they make a deal. I think that if this is going to be a team that's trying to win a lot of Super Bowls in the long term, I think locking him in as well as Jamar Chase with Burrow, who's willing to, kind of taking that Tom Brady approach where he was willing to take less money or rework his contract so that they could put a good supporting cast around him. And I think he knows very much how important Higgins is to this offense. So I'm hopeful that they do get a deal done, but I expect this to be a thing that we're going to be reading about for a lot of weeks, potentially months, as we head into the NFL season. I would not be surprised if this is a lengthy process. So just, if you are going to be investing in Higgins, be very patient with this process.
Dynasty and keeper leagues, we still get questions every day over at fantasyguru.com, people making moves, all this kind of stuff with a lot of uncertainty that we're going to talk about here. One of those uncertain scenarios is the situation with Chris Godwin. Obviously, Chris Godwin is one of the better chain movers in the NFL. He's going to be 29 years old. He ended the season injured last year. We had a report from Jenna Lane saying that there's no chance that the Bucs will franchise tag Godwin. So it sounds like his time in Tampa Bay is almost over. Coming back from a torn ACL, you have to think that wherever Godwin goes, he gets paid a fair wage. And he's probably catching 5 passes a week, right? You have to think that. Are you thinking that? I mean, again, he's not a young guy. He's got a knee injury. What are you thinking with Chris Godwin?
I think he is going to have a significant role wherever he goes. I think his fantasy value will be very dependent on where he lands, where he signs. We've talked about, the Chargers being a good landing spot. I think for many receivers in the NFL, someone like Godwin makes a lot of sense here. You talked about he's a chain mover. He's a possession. He could be a possession receiver for you. And again, they could use that kind of player, that kind of veteran presence there with that young receiving group that they have. So that's a landing spot where I think it would be great for his fantasy value. But I think wherever he goes, he should carve out a significant role. He still has, before the injury, he was showing that he still has plenty of, juice left in the tank. It could be some time. I would keep an eye on, the training camp and all that stuff, see how his rehab is going. But I think so long as there are no setbacks, he should be ready to roll to start the season.
There's a lot going on with the Browns. The whole Myles Garrett situation. Is he going to stay or not? He wants out. They're trying to bribe him, in essence, to stay, give him a big contract. They don't have a quarterback. It looks like they made the decision. They're moving on from Deshaun Watson. Just in disarray. The team's got to be torn down, all this kind of stuff. There have been articles written frequently that say, okay, they need a quarterback. Kirk Cousins, he doesn't want to be in Atlanta. It doesn't sound like they want him in Atlanta. There's no way Atlanta can get out of paying him the money. So in essence, Kirk Cousins gets chucked to the curb and he goes the Russell Wilson route. He signs a $1 million deal with his new team or whatever, and then who the hell cares, right? So Cousins to the Browns makes sense on the surface. I think the real question is, even if this happens, even if he goes to Cleveland, who is Kirk Cousins at this point? Because he looked pretty solid in the first half of the season, looked atrocious in the second half of the season. And he's not a young guy, Armando.
Yeah, he's not someone I'm looking to invest in as my QB1. I think that, he's going to work as the bridge quarterback wherever he goes, whether it's Cleveland or anywhere else. You mentioned all the dots are connecting to Cleveland. It makes sense. They have a pretty solid supporting cast here, right? When you look at their group of receivers, when you look at their tight end, the offensive line is solid. They obviously can always improve that department. They have a good defense. So it's a solid landing spot, for a quarterback like Kirk Cousins. But I think his best days are behind him, right? I think that he can still produce maybe. He can still be someone that, could operate as, QB2 in 2 quarterback leagues. But I wouldn't want to trust him as my QB1. And I think he'll be okay. I think I don't think him going to Cleveland is going to hurt this, the players there. Obviously, having someone like Jameis Winston that's going to throw it 50 times a week, it helps, but I don't think it's going to hurt. I think it's better than having Deshaun Watson under center for them.
Marsal at fantasyguru.com. The Raiders are making a lot of changes, new ownership, new coaching, on the field, off the field, they're making all these changes. They signed Gardner Minshew last year, and then it didn't ever seem like their head coach wanted to play him. It was weird. As of right now, we're getting reporting that's suggesting that Gardner Minshew's time with the Raiders is done. That it's Aiden O'Connell time now. Maybe there's, a Aaron Rodgers. Maybe there's a Sam Darnold. Maybe there's a Kirk Cousins. There's still time for the Raiders to do something here. But this is a team that kind of needs an identity, and it sounds like Mr. Jorts isn't going to be part of that identity moving forward.
Minshew, I don't think he's going to be around here. I think they're going to go for a veteran. I really do. You mentioned some players there, Aaron Rodgers, Sam Darnold. Though that's been something that has been reported where the Raiders could make a run at Sam Darnold. We don't know what's going to happen there in Minnesota and him. So yeah, I think they're going to move on from Minshew. At the end of the day, he's not their future. Is he really the bridge quarterback? He's more of a backup quarterback, I think, in the NFL. And given some of the potential free agents out there that we can see, I wouldn't be surprised, for them to go after one of those veteran quarterbacks over Minshew.
Another quarterback, we had a lot of quarterback news. Another quarterback, and this guy's, I think he's going to the Hall of Fame. Matthew Stafford. He's in the conversation at least. His wife is always in the media talking trash. I don't know what that is. His wife is very vocal about everything. She doesn't like trades. She doesn't like the way. So she's Mr. Stafford's #1 champion. I guess we give her credit for that. But there's performance issues on the field. There's contract issues off the field. There's uncertainty with what this Rams team is going to look like. We've already heard repeatedly that Cooper Kupp is gone, so that era is ending. We're now hearing that Matthew Stafford's time with the Rams might be done. Jimmy Garoppolo is a free agent, so they don't really have a quarterback if Garoppolo and Stafford are out. So this Rams team, Armando, this is a big point, like a tipping point for the franchise. This is you losing your #1 wide receiver for the last 5 years before Puka. You're losing your franchise quarterback that took you to a Super Bowl. Where are we at with the Rams?
Yeah, this is a situation you have to monitor very closely, right? Because this could be a team that went from, a force, in the NFL to just being in full rebuild mode here. So I'm very eager to see what happens here. He's not locked in with them. He's not locked in with them this year. That's been reported there multiple times. But I hope if they want to continue to compete, I hope that he sticks around, especially for Puka Nacua, right? Because that would be a big loss for Nacua, and that would impact his fantasy value, I think, significantly, obviously depending on who they get as well. But I think having Stafford, we know how he operates in this offense. We know that he likes to lock into those guys. So I think his role would take a hit here if Stafford's not gone. So I'm not only looking at it for Stafford, I'm also looking at it for Nacua, Karen Williams, all of these kind of players, because it will impact their fantasy value, in my opinion.
Yeah, Stafford has always had the ability, going back forever, of making high-end wide receivers. The team could win 6 games, someone's still catching 1,200 yards of passes, right? So that is definitely something with Puka Nacua, who could get 10 targets a week from Stafford if he's there. But if it's not Stafford, who knows? We'll see. Going from an old guy toward the end of his career in Stafford to a young guy in Cam Ward. When I see Cam Ward, I always think the old goaltender in the NHL. I don't know. He's got a chance to be the #1 pick in the draft. The Titans need a quarterback. Okay, there it is. I don't think a lot of people look at Cam Ward and think this guy's a generational player or anything like that. So there's that. I wanted to talk to you more directly, though, about the fact that it doesn't sound like he's going to go to the combine and throw and play, right? He'll go and talk to people, I guess, but he won't participate. What's the value of the combine? What can we take out of that? What's important there? If you're a team and you hear Cam Ward's not going to throw, are you thinking to yourself, you're a wuss? I don't want you on my team. You can't prove you're good. Talk us through this whole thing, because to me, I've always said I could care less about a guy running around in his underwear. I want to know if he can play football, but this is really important to a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't really make much of it. I think if you have something to prove, right, or if there's things in flux and you want to go show something, or maybe your season didn't end the way you wanted it. If there's something to prove or something that you can gain from it, I do think you go out there and participate. But there's a lot of reports that he, like you said, he expected to be the #1 pick or whatnot. Maybe this does impact that, right? Maybe some of those coaches in Tennessee say, well, I don't know. I don't know how much is going to impact his stock. So I don't place a ton of emphasis on it, Ray. I really don't. I know there's a lot of metrics and things that people use from here, in their evaluation process. But I think it's all on film, right? I think it's all on what he did on the field in game time and in game day. So I don't really take much from this.
There are a lot of players, and we know this. You probably remember from when you were younger too and playing. There are some players that suck at practice, not because they don't care, whatever. They don't have the juice going because it's not a game. There are other players that are great at practice, and they get in a game and they suck, right? So that's always been the thing. Stand there and hit a target, throw a ball to it's just, to me, it's so far removed. I always remember, Armando, the old Jerry Rice story, because Jerry Rice, I think we can argue the greatest receiver of all time. He's in the conversation for sure. He graded out he had 4.5, 40 or something. It wasn't anything great. And he was never caught from behind, ever. No one ever ran down Jerry Rice, because when the game was on, it didn't matter if he had a 4.5 speed. If he needed to go 4.4, he ran a 4. You know what I mean? It's like, There's that. So that to me has always been weird. You've experienced that too, right? Like some guys are great in practice and they're not in games, and vice versa. And so it's hard to take one and say it's going to directly lead to the other.
Yeah, when adrenaline hits, for some people it hits differently, right? Like you mentioned it, like that's the truth. I always compare it to I'm a poor test taker. Like I really am. It doesn't matter if I know my materials. Sometimes I'm a poor test taker. I overthink things or whatnot. So that was something that was always with me in school. And I think of it the same way. Like you might not be good in those situations where you're being tested for something where, these numbers, at the end of the day, man, if you can go out there and play football, you know what I like to focus here more on than anything else? Their interviews. I like to do that. I would like to see where they're at mentally, where they're at. Like CJ Stroud impressed me. And that was one thing that for me, like he had exceptional, checked off all the boxes, but then how he spoke to reporters, when they interviewed the questions, how he answered those questions. To me, that was like, this guy's mentally prepared for the NFL. I pay a little bit more attention to that than what we see on those combine numbers, to be honest with you.
I saw him interviewed at the Super Bowl by Kay Adams, former co-host of mine on Sirius XM. And I don't know if you saw it. They had him come into the studio and he's sitting there talking to Kay, and they've got the Lombardi trophy like sitting right there, and he won't look at it. He's like doing this. And she's like, why aren't you looking at the trophy? He's like, I'm not going to look at the trophy until I earn it. And she's like, but everyone wants to take pictures of it. They want to sit. He goes, I'm not looking at it. I thought that was kind of impressive too, to your point. That's, most guys are, hey, it's like, we didn't do anything. Hey, he's like, no, I'm out of that until we earn it. So I was impressed by that too. The guy that impressed on the field, Armando, is Ashton Jeanty. He's obviously going to be the number one running back off the board. He's going to be the number one pick in virtually every dynasty league, I think, out there. And it was bound to happen. But there was a report from the Athletic saying the Cowboys are going to take him. It was the storyline was bound to happen, right? Rico Dowdle was effective last year after he finally gained the job, and I don't think anyone looks at Dowdle and thinks great things, but he was good. He was effective, and the Cowboys obviously don't need to draft Jeanty, but Jerry Jones, this makes sense, doesn't it?
It's going to happen, right? At least there, it's going to happen. Like, it's inevitable. I mean, I was waiting for the storyline to happen. Like, Jeanty to the Cowboys. Mm-hmm. It's just a perfect match when you look at everything. If you think about it, right? They needed a running back. I know Dowdle did good, but he's not, like you said, he's not special by any means. So, I mean, this is a really good running back here, right? Jeanty's a really good running back. I think he's a special back. And it's just a perfect, signing for Jones. Like, that's what it is. It's a perfect thing for Dallas, like the perfect storyline. So yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if that's where he ends up. I'm expecting it, and because of that, what he's going to step into right away, a significant role in my opinion, and someone that I think is going to get as many opportunities as he can handle as a rookie.
That must be a weird scenario, not just the Cowboys, just any NFL scenario as an example, where your owner's worth $1.5 billion. They made gazillions of dollars. They employ hundreds of people, all this kind of stuff. And then they hire these great people to run the football team, and then they don't let them run the football team. Like, they stick their nose in it. And I get it, because, again, you don't get to be a billionaire by sitting on the sideline. But wouldn't you, if you were the owner, would you hire the right people and let them do their job? Like, why is Jerry Jones even involved in decision-making? You hired 42 people to make this decision. Why are you even sitting there making the decision? You're not the manager. You're not the head coach. You're not the GM. Am I wrong with that?
No, you're absolutely right. I think great leaders. I mean, we see it with Jeff. He he lets people like take on their roles, and you oversee it. It's trust the people you surround yourself with. I think that's the problem with Jerry Jones. He just wants to control every little aspect that there is in Dallas. And no, I think you should hire the right people, and then when you hire the right people, trust that they're going to do a job. And if you see something, then you talk to that person. But getting involved in everything messes everything up, in my opinion. And you're seeing that with Dallas. The decision making is, it affects because of what he how much he persists to be involved in everything.
Armando Marsal of FantasyGuru.com. The Dolphins released Raheem Mostert, who what do you have, 21 touchdowns 2 years ago? Like, it was magic, right? It was magic. It was a fantastic season. And even in last season, there were moments where he was an effective player. The problem is he's aging. He's hurt all the time. Okay, he's making money. Dolphins let him go. Totally makes sense. He'll sign on somewhere for 1 year and $2 million and, whatever, we'll see, right? Let's talk about what's left in Miami. Miami season didn't go according to plan virtually anywhere on offense. I guess Jonnu Smith was the only guy that really stepped forward, right? Waddle was hurt. Hill was unproductive. I was unfair. Achane and Smith, both. Achane was really good, too. Did Achane remove for you the concerns about his health last year? Because he basically was out there all the time. And how important is it to you to get Jaylen Wright as a handcuff to Achane if you're drafting Achane? Because it's clear now at this point, with Mostert out of the mix, that Wright is that number 2 with the Dolphins.
Yeah, so I'm always going to be concerned about Achane given his size. That's really what it is for me. It's just about his size more than anything else. I would prioritize Jaylen Wright. He was someone that was on my list as a late round flyer last season, and I completely missed on that one. It just never worked out. He never got the opportunities, even when there was injuries to this backfield. He didn't get those opportunities that I expected. So, but I do think, going right back to the well here, if they don't make any more moves in this backfield, if they don't invest in another back that can step into that number 2 role, I think Jaylen Wright is going to see a much more opportunities this year. And if Achane does go down, I think Wright is very capable of handling the bulk of the workload. He has the build for a 3-down back. He has, the skill set for a 3-down back. So I do think he'll carve out a role here in Miami and could end up vulturing some touchdowns here in the goal line at some point in the season. But as things stand right now, yes, I'll drafting Achane, and I'm prioritizing Wright as a handcuff. I do think he'll be a top tier handcuff here if things remain the same in Miami.
The Chargers, Armando, had a good season. It obviously ended on a down note, but they had a good season. Jim Harbaugh came in, Roman. There were moments with the passing attack. There were moments with the rushing attack. I think everyone was kind of disappointed all around, but the team won games. Like, in the fantasy space, we're kind of like, but they won double-digit games, made the playoffs. They need help at the wide receiver position. There's no way around that. They just do. Palmer's fine as a depth guy. I don't think Quentin Johnston, even though he got a little bit better, he's not a difference maker. They've got Ladd McConkey. Okay. They don't really have a tight end they can count on. Okay. So there is a report in The Athletic that Mike Williams going back to the Chargers makes sense. It does make sense. He's been there. He's worked with Herbert. Unfortunately, Mike Williams can't play 17 football games. He has a hard time playing 4 quarters. So it's not like he's the answer. Makes sense for him to go back there, even though from a fantasy perspective, he's not anyone we're drafting with any level of confidence. Does that fit make sense? And if that does happen, that's not going to preclude the Chargers from making a bigger move, would it?
No, I don't think so. I think he has a good chance to end up there. I think it makes sense. I think he would be, if they can't get someone like a Godwin, or if they don't end up getting someone like a T. Higgins, assuming T. Higgins stays in Cincinnati, like some of these bigger names, I think he would be, their next option. But even if they do get him at a cheap cost, I don't think that that's going to stop, their pursuit of another receiver by any means. I do think that they know that Mike Williams, number one, injuries have been a big issue, like you mentioned. He hasn't been able to play, a full season in many seasons. Someone that just is always dinged up. So I think that you have to place a lot of emphasis on that, because if you're looking for a player to come in and fix something in your team, you can't go with a player like that. He's just going to add depth to a roster and someone that can, maybe have a big moment or two throughout the season. But I don't think he'll carve out a significant role here with the Chargers.
Armando Marsal of FantasyGuru.com. That's the football talk. But Armando brought some excitement today. He's got a pack of cards, so let's do it, Armando.
Yeah,
if the case people are just joining us now, Armando, What pack of cards are we going to tear open here? What are we doing?
Yeah, so let me remove the background here. So there you go.
Okay.
So you got all right. So we got the upper deck right here. It's an upper deck 1990 baseball. So this one has it has a minimum of 1 3D team logo hologram per pack, limited edition, high quality cards, 15 baseball cards per pack, and then it's counterfeit proof cards. So they're not fake. They say they're not fake, and it's a good package. It is very good actually. The package. Yeah, it's a tamper-proof pack here. So, and then Ray, we have a chance of winning some 1991 baseball tickets. All right,
all right.
So we could go revisit 1991 and see what kind of game you want to catch.
What kind of response do you think you get when you send that in? Like, you can't even send it in anymore because Upper Deck's not even a company anymore, right?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I guess you can't even do that anymore.
Yeah.
All right,
here we go.
Let's do it, Armando.
Let's see. All right, we're going to start with card number 1 here. We got Mookie Wilson.
How many cards are in this pack, did you say? Is it like
15.
15, okay. So different than 5 today.
Yeah. Mookie Wilson.
Yeah, Mook.
Go.
Famous for hitting the ball through Buckner's legs, right?
I think so. Darren Jackson.
Okay. Nice little Padre uniform there, yeah.
Yeah, right. That's one of my favorite uniforms of all time.
All right.
Oh, I remember him. Brian Holman.
Okay. Brian doesn't look very happy there. That must have been after he didn't do so well in the hell.
He got shelled.
Yeah, it looks like right there on the bench.
All right, we got Claudel Washington.
I remember Claudel. Yeah, good name. I think he played for the Braves too, right? Does that say that? It doesn't say on the back because it's a shorter.
Yeah, 86 Braves, and he went Yankees and then Angels, 89. All right, let me see here who we got. All right, Frank Williams.
Look at that.
Look at that arm.
That low arm angle. Yeah, that's like sidearm almost, right?
Yeah. There you go. All right. We got Dave Anderson in here. I don't know who he is, to be honest.
I couldn't hear the name.
Dave Anderson.
Can't really read it. Dave Anderson. I don't really remember Dave Anderson. All right.
I don't know who he is either. Alan Anderson.
We're just going through the Andersons. Is Brian Anderson next? No, that was, I think, before Brian.
No, I like the next one. I like the next.
Okay.
We go. We got Kirk Gibson.
Now, I've told this story before. When he hit the home run off Eckersley in the World Series, we couldn't walk. I was at my friend's house, my next door neighbor, was actually 2 houses over. We were watching the game, and this is back in the day. This is what, 86 or whatever the hell it was. We were watching the game on a 13-inch black and white Toshiba. Like, it was a 13-inch black and white TV, and we were like sitting 2 feet from it because it was 13 inches, right? So I remember seeing that's where I was. Do you remember? Did you remember that? No, you don't remember when he hit the home run. Okay. Well, Eckersley is Bay Area and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, okay.
I remember those teams. I don't remember that precise.
Yeah. Did you have a TV growing up that was small like that?
Yeah, I had the one that you turn the knob. It had like 10 channels, I think it was.
Yeah.
And you had to move the antennas around, and
you're
lucky if you got it with no static. That was the good times.
I got the
old. Just move the wire, and it's like I had like a rig. I had like a hanger that I would hold the wire with, and I was like, all right, that has precise. So it would be precise. It got the best possible picture at the time.
We got one of the first flat screen TVs. My dad was always getting the tech stuff early, and so I got the old family TV in my room. That was because I got the hand-me-down, right? And it was one of those TVs in the wood case, the big thing. So it took like me and my brother, my dad, like forever to carry this thing up the stairs. Could weigh 150 pounds, and you would turn it on and it would hum. It would take about 10 minutes of for it to warm up, and then the sound would go away. So I would turn it on, go take a shower, go brush my teeth, and by the time I came back in, so the picture was still good. It just took 10 minutes to warm up. So
that's an awesome story.
What else we got in this pack here?
Oh, so we got a Minnesota Twins little sticker here.
All right, little hologram.
Yeah.
Nice.
There we go. All right, we got Kelly Gruber.
There you go. What was isn't it Mick Gruber? Isn't that the character?
Yeah.
Mick Gruber?
Yeah.
Yes. Looking at Kelly Gruber, you're a big fan of the Blue Jays. They kind of look like batting practice jerseys, right?
That's what it looks like there, yeah. All right, let me see.
McGruber.
Louis Meadows.
I don't remember him.
Yeah, I don't know. But he looks like he just hit a nice.
You like the
he looks like he hit a nice hit there. He looks like he was. Look at that one going very far there.
It's going straight up in the air on the infield fly.
Maybe.
You like the Astros jerseys? Did you like the color on those?
I thought they were pretty cool.
Okay.
It reminded me kind of like a gas station, you know?
Okay, yeah. I always associate Mike Scott with those.
Yeah.
Dominate the Giants. He threw a no-hitter against the Giants, so there you go. All right.
I always Baggio and
Bagwell?
Yes, Baggio and Bagwell, yes.
Yeah, and Doran and all those guys in the old days. Yeah. Enos Cabell was back in the day there. Remember him? He was on the Giants for a while too. Anyway, go ahead.
All right, we're gonna maybe butcher this name. Dave Dravecki. Did I say that right?
You said that right. And you'll remember this when I tell you. He's the guy whose arm broke when he threw a pitch.
No, really?
Yeah, he had cancer. And I was on the only cruise I've ever taken in my life. I was on a cruise to Mexico, with my family, and we were coming down off the ship to go to Puerto Vallarta, wherever the hell we were pulled into. And someone was like, "Oh my God, Dave Dravecki's arm flew off." And we're like, "What do you mean his arm? What are you talking about?" And we're Giants fans and everything. We went back and watched the highlights. Yeah, he had cancer in his arm and he broke his humerus.
Uh-huh. So
he actually threw a pitch and his arm snapped. And you can I'm sure the videos everywhere. He threw the pitch and like fell over because I can only imagine what the hell the pain was like, right? Ended up having to have his arm amputated later. But he ended up becoming a motivational speaker and he's a great human being and he made it through that. But yeah, really good pitcher that unfortunately had some difficult health issues that included that arm break.
I've never seen the video. I'm gonna check it out.
Yeah, it's kind of gruesome. His arm kind of just flops as he throws it. You can tell. But yeah, he became a motivational speaker and the whole thing after the fact. Looks like he did pretty well after his career.
Oh, that's good. That's good. All right, we got 4 more here. All right. Okay. Tom Dries.
Tom Dries. Don't remember Tom. Look at that. I never liked that hat. I was on the White Sox when I was in Pony Baseball. We had that hat. I never liked it.
No. Yeah. No, I didn't like that uniform. Yeah. I like the ones they have now better.
Yeah, for sure.
Trevor Wilson here.
Trevor Wilson, another Giant. Yeah, Trevor Wilson was supposed to be a thing, and he had one good year. Never really was a thing. Didn't live up to expectations. Big guy.
Yeah.
Pretty broad, but never quite got there.
Oh, look at this. Oh, man. Ken Griffey Sr.
There you go.
Yeah, that's fun.
What I'm talking about. Part of the Big Red Machine there.
Yeah.
Yeah, a really good ball player. It's tough. I mean, sure, it's fine. Obviously, his son, one of the greatest of all time. Ken was good too. Like he was in the big leagues for 15 years, made all-star teams. A good player too.
Doesn't Ken Griffey Jr. have such one of the prettiest swings you've seen, right?
Yeah, for sure.
It is.
And it's just smooth and just the follow through and the backwards hat and batting practice and all that.
It's great.
Yeah,
it's great. All right, here I'm going to. Give me a name. Hold up.
Eric S., by the way, says Dravecki was an amazing human being. He's old like me, so he remembers Dravecki.
Right. It says V. Wells on it. So
it says who?
V. Wells. It says like a little thing. I don't know.
Almost looks like Von Hayes.
Is that okay? Hold up.
Yeah. What card number is that? I have to look it up.
All right. It's card number 7. It does. Philadelphia Phillies. I do see Von Hayes.
Is it number 9 on the jersey?
Yeah.
It's got to be Von Hayes. That's his number, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. All right, there you go. Von Hayes.
Von Hayes. Have you ever seen – let me see, verify that. Von Hayes. Come on, Von Hayes. Yeah, number 9. Von Hayes on the Phillies was number 9. Have you ever watched It's Sunny in Philadelphia?
No, I have not. I've heard it's great, though.
No, everyone needs to watch the Christmas special. Watch it, everyone. Put it on your calendar to watch next year at Christmas time. I think it's like year 3, 4, 5, something like that. But it's the Christmas episode. It's fantastic. And at one point, they go into the toy store and they're trying to get a toy from the guy. And the guy's like, "We don't have toys." And the dude's like, "Just go in the back and give me the toy, bro. I know you got some toys in the back." And he's like, "We don't have any." And he goes, "You're telling me if Mike Schmidt walks in here, you don't have a toy for him?" And the guy's like, "Who's Mike Schmidt?" And it becomes this whole thing about baseball players. And he starts screaming and Von Hayes comes up. So it's a really funny, so you'll remember it if you watch the episode. I don't know the whole thing, but yeah, it's really funny. The Christmas episode of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Von Hayes was an all-star once. Let's look here. He was an MVP, top 10 MVP vote in 1986. Led the league in runs scored, led the league in doubles. So,
Cool card.
I know who Von Hayes is, and I don't run a toy store, but Von Hayes. There you go. All right, well, that was cool, Armando. Sorry we didn't get anything that you had to mail in.
Oh, no, it's all right. Hey, listen, that's fun. I like that. That's fun for me. I put a couple of those in the binder,
What do you do with the sticker? Do you stick it on something? Do you?
I'm gonna get it. I'm sure my son will find somewhere to stick it around the house.
So
I'll just give it to him and do what he wants with it.
Is he going to stick it on the fridge, or it's going to be on the back of the couch? Where's he going to put it?
Maybe I'll just put it on his helmet, his baseball helmet. So,
okay.
See what he wants to do with it.
I saw him. And by the way, you want to brag a little bit? I saw some video on Instagram from him the other day.
Yeah, he had a great weekend, man. I was very, very proud of him. He pitched. He's someone that's very inconsistent right now with his pitching, but he came and he only threw 30 pitches in 3 innings, and went 3 shutout innings, hit a home run in the same game, and just had a great day. So he got the game ball for that day. So I was definitely very proud of him, and he's having fun, man. The kids are having fun, and that's what it's all about for us. But it's always cool when they have those big games and big moments. They get so excited, and they get excited for one another, man. So yeah, I was very proud of him this weekend for sure.
Armando Marsal of FantasyGuru.com. You can find him on Twitter X at Armando_Marsal. Help me out. What's your Instagram? I forgot.
It's Mind of Marsal.
Mind of Marsal. Okay.
Yeah.
Which is also the name of his podcast that you can find at FantasyGuru.com. Go to the FantasyGuru.com. Go to the Elite Plus tab at the top of the page. You can find this show. You can find his show. You can find Justin Fensterman's show, Jeff Mann's show, all those over at FantasyGuru.com. Don't forget to click the subscribe tab in the top right corner. Get signed up for all the packages, including the MVP package, which is basically everything but football and baseball. That includes basketball, which Armando is knee-deep in. How is that going right now, Armando?
It's going good. It's going well. We had a pretty good week last week. We saw a lot of screenshots there. A couple of the nights we had a couple of the core fours do very well. So yeah, we're rolling right now. It's obviously a little break. It'll come back later in the week, and we'll be right back in it. In Discord, at cheat sheets, articles, and like you said, at Wednesday, every Wednesday, Fencey and I on this same show. We talk hoops, and we usually break down the slate. Tomorrow we're going to talk some other fun stuff. But yeah, and you have obviously the Fencey's Diary, a podcast that comes out every week that covers everything NBA. So lots in that package, and lots of basketball content here at Fantasy Guru.
One thing I saw over the weekend, the game was played here in the Bay Area, obviously. I was flipping through, so I didn't really watch it. I saw the dunk over the car, and that was pretty cool. Wembanyama, explain to me why he's just chucking 3-point. He's just trying to get through the course fast. I'm watching him, he's throwing passes through the thing like he's supposed to. He's shooting 3-pointers like a chest pass. He's just chucking balls up. What? Should he have been in that event? That to me that's pretty bad, Armando.
I don't necessarily want to say that he shouldn't be in that event, but I definitely think there are better options for that kind of event, Ray. But he does occasionally chuck his threes and makes his 3-pointers, and he'll stop he'll stop far away from that line. Sometimes you see him take those threes. He's definitely fun. Maybe it wasn't as fun to watch that night, but he is a fun player to watch for sure.
Oh, for sure, right? But you know what I mean? It's he's just I'm watching him. It's what are you doing, dude? If that's the event that it's got a speed component and all that, I get it. But yeah, I didn't really love that. Did you like the whole thing, by the way, before we let you go? Was the weekend a good weekend?
I'm not. It's fun to watch, but it's not, something I'd sit there and, watch everything. I'll, like you do, I kind of flip through it or whatever and things like that. So, but yeah, it was okay. It was okay.
Armando Marsal of FantasyGuru.com. Again, he's with us every Tuesday at about 12:30 Eastern Standard Time. He's with us every Wednesday doing double duty at about 12:30 Eastern Standard Time. Click the Elite Plus tab at the top of the page at FantasyGuru.com to get his podcast, Mind of Marsal. Sign up for the MVP package over at FantasyGuru.com. Subscribe tab, top right corner. To get his basketball, Justin Fensterman's basketball work, the NHL, NBA, PGA, MMA, NASCAR, golf. I said PGA and golf. Horse racing. Basically everything is in there.
Hockey.
Hockey too. There you go. I left out hockey. How can I leave out hockey? Left out hockey. So all that in the MVP pan over at FantasyGuru.com. Armando, thanks for your time today. Appreciate it. We will talk to you again next week, and have a good night.
Yep. Thanks so much for having me on. Have a great day, everyone.
He's Armando Marsal. I'm Ray Flowers. I won't be here tomorrow, but Justin Fensterman will be back with Armando Marsal. And I'll return on Thursday. I'll be with Jeff Mans on the Elite Sports Show, 3 to 6 p.m. Eastern tomorrow on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio. For Armando, I'm Ray. It's been Fantasy Sports Daily, powered by FantasyGuru.com.